The speculation about Prince Harry's place in the royal family has been revived by his recent 4-day trip to Britain, his charitable engagements, his carefully choreographed private tea with King Charles at Clarence House, and reports of high-level talks have inevitably set off claims that the Duke of Sussex could edge back into the royal fold. Yet the palace line remains resolute. There can be no half-in, half-out arrangement. But that line cuts in both directions, doesn't it? That phrase, first coined during the Sandringham Summit of 2020, is now the guiding principle. The late Queen was determined that members of the royal family could not simultaneously represent the crown and earn private money. King Charles has, who's shown personal kindness to his son in granting an audience, has also made it clear that that principle stands. There is no prospect of Harry returning to an official role while living in California, maintaining commercial ventures and curating his own media narrative. But that doesn't amount to exile. To suggest so misreads the situation. Rather, the door is clearly ajar for occasional family reconciliation, or indeed permanent family reconciliation, certainly for private meetings and perhaps more carefully managed joint appearances that stress unity at moments of national importance. In that sense, Harry is being invited to act as a relative, not as a representative, and that distinction is crucial. The Duke appears to understand the nuance. His avoidance of public events during Donald Trump's recent state visit showed a recognition that the spotlight belongs to the monarch and the heir, and his willingness to express in interviews that the focus has to be on my dad suggests he knows the price of re-entry is discretion. If he is serious about reconciliation, the memoirs, the documentaries, the interviews of the past cannot be repeated. Silence is the currency of trust. And why does this matter? First, the modern monarchy is under strain, and with a reduced roster of working royals, critics argue that William carries too much of a burden. It is tempting, therefore, to imagine Harry picking up some of the slack. Yet this is a misunderstanding. The strength of the institution lies not in numbers, but in cohesion. And to reintroduce a figure whose public brand is rooted in commercial independence would undermine that unity in some sense, even if it's desirable. Second, the king must balance fatherhood with kingship. Private kindness doesn't translate into public rehabilitation. Indeed, insiders are keen to the danger of syrupy briefings from Harry's camp, which risk driving wedges between father and son or between Charles and William. The monarchy's authority rests on its bond between or with the Prince of Wales, not on improvising a hybrid role for the Duke of Sussex. What then is the plausible path? It is that Harry, without title or formal duty, becomes a regular but unofficial presence in Britain. He might attend charitable events, maintain his patronages, and quietly support causes, not unlike the Duke of Gloucester, who also earned money, but nevertheless represented the Queen on significant occasions. He might attend charity. He might return 4 or 5 times a year, not as a fully functioning working royal, but as a figure who's reconciled with his family and occasionally puts in appearances and could even represent the family in some form. The Invictus Games in Birmingham in 2027 could become a stage for a carefully managed joint appearance with his father, framed as personal support rather than constitutional duty. The vision is not of a man striding back into the centre of monarchy, but of a son circling closer to the centre of family life. And the message from the palace, I think, is unmistakable. He cannot have both, but he doesn't need to be exiled. He's not banished. If Harry can accept that balance, the monarchy may find itself strengthened by quiet reconciliation rather than weakened by endless contest. So the idea of being one in, one out, the idea of being you can't be both in and out of the royal family, half in, half out. That's a new concept, because that half in, half out was always the case with some members some members of the senior royal family during the reign of the late Queen. And I think the fact that this question is being raised suggests maybe there is an opportunity, rather than a firm gate closing. I think that concept of half in, half out needs to be revisited, and the question is not whether Harry can return, but on what terms. The answer is clear: he can return as a son, as a patron, as a presence, but he cannot be a half royal and half entrepreneur in the sense that he currently imagines. That settlement may not satisfy his ambitions, but it is a formula that preserves the monarchy's integrity while offering him a place, however limited, within that story. Now, I think there is even a possibility that that could be modified in the future, particularly under the present king, who I think is keen to see a compromise and a resolution. And I would hope that that would also involve a reconciliation with Harry's brother.